The way I see it in a sense with Smoky Mountain Wrestling was that you and Glenn were replacing the gangsters. Is that sort of how
Yes.
you saw it?
No, that's exactly how it was. It's
Uh,
not how that was. So we were wrestling for Burt Prentice at Ozark Mountain Wrestling out in Arkansas. Tracy Smothers, Rock and Roll Express, he was bringing them in, and obviously they had ties with Smoky Mountain and Cornette.
mm,
Smoky Mountain was the next step for us to try to get through, to WWF. So we were giving them tapes. We were wrestling them every time that Burt brought them in. So eventually we got a phone call from Cornette, and Cornette said, "Hey, I'd love to bring you guys in." He goes, "But," he goes, "I hate the masks." He goes, "I hate the spiders." He goes, "I hate masks." And we were like, "Okay, like, what do you want us to do?" He said, "Well," he goes, and this is going to be funny. He goes, "I was at a Danzig concert, and," he said, "there was this crazy person there." He goes, "They had makeup on, they were wearing dresses and skirts, and they were spitting on each other, they were beating the shit out of each other." He goes, "I just think it would be with your guys' personalities, from because we've met Cornette when Cornette used to come up to New Jersey to do shows. So Glenn had a history with him already, and I had met him a few times." He goes, "With that Northeast attitude that you guys have," he goes, "I think this gimmick would work." And it turns out that person who was starting for Danzig, who did the opening act for Danzig, was Marilyn Manson.
mm.
And so Cornette pitched this headbanger idea to us, and I knew exactly what he was talking about because I had been over to the underground, the bank over in Philly. I was into that type of, maybe not as hardcore as Marilyn Manson, but I knew what he was talking about. And we were just like, whatever you want us to do, we just want our foot in the door. So, yeah, so that's how we got in the foot in the door with Smoky Mountain.
Well, can I ask this then, actually? Because this was something I was going to bring up a little later, but I'll mention it now. Was with the whole Marilyn Manson look. As a kid, I was maybe 11, like when Marilyn Manson was like massive, and I do remember him. Uh, and you were obviously meant to be fans of Marilyn Manson, or like proper hardcore metal and stuff like that. Where did the specific look for the shaved heads come from? Because I was thinking, in '99, you grew your hair back, and I thought he's got a great head of hair. Were you really bummed out to shave your head?
No, actually, how it it's fun. How it happened was Glenn really didn't have a choice because he was balding pretty bad, and we were both like, "All right, we gotta let it grow out." Like I let my goatee grow pretty long. I was letting my hair grow pretty long. The Smoky Mountain days, it was pretty long. Glenn tried, but it was like pieces of string just kind of hanging down. So he was like, "This is terrible." So we just one day we were like we would had clippers and we were kind of like trimming our own hair and I just went, "This is stupid." Like you got this big bald spot in the back, and I just shaved it all off. And then for me, I still kept mine, and it was getting pretty long. And then during the summer when Smoky Mountain closed down before we signed with WWF, I was working part time at a car wash. Where we were doing shows on the weekend wherever we could, and then like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I would work at a car wash for a little extra money. And it was so hot. I mean, it was just brutal that I was just like, "All right, I just got to shave it off too. It's just too hot." And because I was always used to my hair being short. When I ever got home, the last day of school, when I was growing up, I went straight to the barber. I had a buzz cut all summer, so I wasn't used to it. So I just shaved it all off. And then it kind of stuck because back then, that's when everyone had long hair. Everyone had long hair. So no one really had that look. So except for, that's when Stone Cold came out. But yeah, so that's how that's where the shaved heads came from. It was just Glenn didn't have a choice. Me, it was just too hot over the summer, and I just buzzed it all off.
With just going back to Jim Cornette again, because I say every time he is my favourite subject in the entire world. What were the negotiations like with how much you were going to get? Did you argue over how much of a percentage of concessions or merchandise you may sell? And did you have to man the merchandise table in intermission?
Um, so as far as pay goes, he said, "This is what I can pay you," and we said, "We'll take it," because it was. I mean, for Burt, Burt was a startup company, so it was literally we were wrestling 4 or 5 nights a week, and at the end of the week, if I had $3 in my pocket, it was a lot of money. We just weren't making any money whatsoever. USWA, we were getting $40 a night. So Cornette said, "I can pay you between $75 and $100 a night," and we were like, "Jackpot, we'll take it." And I'll never forget the first TV. He handed us each $100 bill, and we're like, "Do we split this, or you're sure you're giving us each $100?" We were
Mhm.
like blown away. And we got back to the room and we threw it on the bed and we were rolling around on the bed going, we got $100. We got $100. But yeah, we got paid between $75 and $100 for Cornette. And it was, it was magical.
Oh, dearie mate. Could you understand the Cajun accents?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it was. And when we did, we just made fun of them, which made our gimmick even better. Because here we are, eventually, we grew. So when we first went there, we were wearing shorts, and we walked in. Cornette handed me a Slayer T-shirt, and he handed Glenn a Metallica T-shirt. But we had shorts. I think Glenn had sneakers, and I had like work boots on. And so as we slowly evolved the gimmick into, skirts and cutting the T-shirts up and just being satanic, as they put it down there. Yeah, we just kept getting more heat, and the more we made fun of people, the more heat we got. So it just was fun.
With Cornette again, can you remember specifically, and I ask this question a lot, the first time he ever lost his mind at you, but also how much you learnt from him, or specific things you learnt from him?
Learned a ton from him. He never lost his mind on us. I'd been around when he lost his mind on other people. Was around one time when he picked up a monitor and actually threw it across the locker room. Was around one time when a fan, he used to have a rope separated. That was kind of the ring barrier. It was a rope, and Cornette stepped over it, and the fan lifted the rope up to like hit Cornette in the nuts. And Cornette just took that tennis racket sideways to that guy's head, and then just the guy laid there on the ground. Cornette just walked away like it was no big deal. I was like, oh shit. But no, Cornette for us was amazing. He was beyond helpful. He'd pull us aside after every match. And then one of the things he did was one night he came to us, he handed us a tape, and he said, I want you guys to go home. This was on a Sunday. So basically, Smoky Mountain was running Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Sunday. Basically, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it was either Saturday or Sunday night. He handed us a tape, and he said, I want you to go home. He goes, I want you guys to study this over the next 3 or 4 days. Come back and let's talk about it. And that was it. He left it open like that. We were like, okay. It was all the Midnight Express stuff. And then we went back and we were like, okay, so we saw this, we saw that. We figured we could take this and kind of do this with it and make it different, like make it us. So that's basically what he wanted us to do. Is we took a lot of the Midnight Express stuff and made it ours. We would tweak certain things, certain ways, and just do it a little bit differently. So that was the biggest help for us. And Cornette always gave us the time, and not even Cornette, it was the guys in the locker room, like the Rock and Roll Express. You had Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony, you had Tracy Smothers, Al Snow was there, Kane was there when he was Unabomb. So they brought in the Heavenly Body. So there were so many people there. The atmosphere in Smoky Mountain was so different than USWA. USWA was cutthroat. It was every man for themselves and fuck you, and we don't care if you're here. Smoky Mountain was the total opposite. It was like they brought us in and they were like, we want to help you. We want to help you get better. It's going to make the territory better. If you go somewhere else, it makes us look better. And so it was a totally different atmosphere there.
This might be something that you may or may not know. Do you remember the reason why Ricky Morton was fired?
I heard the rumor about it, but I don't know if that was 100% true or not.